All right, it's hot. That's good. Let's get going, everybody. Have a seat. Man, it's good to have you all in here. I've had a lot of fun already. Got to do sales, a couple of sales breakouts today. See some folks that were in the sales breakouts. Boy, you always like to see if somebody was in your other classes because you have to make sure you get your lies kind of lined up here. So if I don't tell the stories exactly right, y'all work with, don't tell nobody, okay? Wow, this is good. We're talking about You Inc., You Incorporated. I notice we got some students in here, we got some folks. What I'm going to share is just one question, this one question that you must answer in your career. Quite frankly, this is one question you got to answer if you're in business. So I'm Steve Wood, and I really appreciate the fact that you decided to spend your hour, this time here with us, and really for us to be able to discover this answer to this one very important question. So, if you want to have a successful career, you need to answer this question. If you're a manager and you're managing people and you're in here, you need to answer this question. If you're a business owner, running a business, you've got to answer this question because this applies to anybody and everybody that's in the room. You know, when you think about questions, you think about answers, they're really kind of two sides of the same coin. Because if you think about it, every question has an answer. So it's really not hard to ask, to find answers, but you got to ask the right question. So, getting the answers, that's usually the easy part. They're not always the right answers, but asking the right question can be tricky. So I'm going to need y'all's help here. I've got a question I'm going to get your help with, okay? This is a really academic question, so get ready. I need you to. So here it is. You guys can see it up here. All right. Would you rather fight 50 man-eating horses the size of a rabbit or one man-eating rabbit the size of a horse? Okay, stand up if you would. Stand up, everybody. I need your opinion. Okay, if you would rather fight 50 man-eating horses the size of a rabbit, go over here. 50 man-eating horses the size of a rabbit, go over this side of the room. All right? Okay, if you're one man-eating rabbit the size of a horse, go over here. One man-eating rabbit. I mean one bad rabbit, but it's the size of a horse. Isn't this a deep question? You say, okay, we got it, okay. All right, so let me ask you, well, folks are here, you chose 50 man-eating horses the size of a rabbit. Why did you choose that? You'd kick those little buddies, huh? You'd stomp them. Yeah, that's a lot, huh? So anybody else, why did you choose to take on 50? What's that? You didn't have to get up. That's usually what, somebody's just, I'm sitting here. That's how engaged I am. Okay. We got a lot of people that moved over here. So why did you choose one man-eating rabbit the size of a horse? There's only one. And you could focus on one, then 50, right? So that's good. So who's right? These guys are. Hey, it's great. You guys have a seat. Y'all have a seat. Thank you very much. Has anybody ever heard, has anybody ever said, look, come to me, there's no such thing as stupid questions? Well, I just proved to you there is. Okay? There are stupid questions. They're really, they do exist. So here's what we got to do. I want to give you three ways not to find the answer to this most important question. Number one, the number one way not to find answers to this important question is ask stupid questions. So Because it really is about the quality of the questions that we ask. And we ask of ourselves that determine the quality of the answers that we get in our life. Now, this is career enhancement, but I want to tell you, this is going to apply across the spectrum of everybody. We talked about if you're in here, if you're a business owner, if you're a business manager. So if you ask stupid questions, you're probably going to get stupid answers like I did with the man-eating horses, man-eating rabbits, right? Number two, if you don't want to find the answer to this question, see the world only as you see it. Only as you see it. So to answer the right question, you must see the world really as it actually is. And I'm going to give you an example. Because the way you see it is really not the correct viewpoint. You may think it is, because look, if you walk outside this hotel, you'll see a parking lot out there, you'll see the rest of that hotel. When you look that way, you'll see some pine trees. But when I was driving through Wisconsin yesterday, I was seeing a whole different viewpoint than Texas, where I live, on the coast. You walk outside my house, you see palm trees. Here you see pine trees, right? So the world is not as you think it is. That's not the actual viewpoint of the world. So if you don't want to find the answer to the question, let me give you a real example of this. The folks that were in the sales class heard this, a part of this today. But I grew up in small town Texas, really small town Texas, and I worked on a ranch. My view of the world was that. I was telling them, my view of the world, big money in my career. Don't follow me in career enhancement, because I was telling them, I sat with my wife and said, honey, if I could ever just make $5 an hour, we'd be set. That's what was my view of the world. But that was the actual world. So if you don't want to find the answer to this, just view the world as only you see it, because it's much different. Number three, don't look for unseen causes. So if you don't want to find the answer to this question, don't look for unseen causes. Let me explain to you what this is. We get results in all the areas of our life, not just in your career, not just in your business, but in your family life, your personal life, you get results. And so those results are an effect of unseen causes. So what are the unseen causes? What are these unseen causes of our results? Now, I don't know about you, but the first time I was asked that question, I realized I couldn't answer it. I couldn't answer. Somebody said, what do you mean, unseen causes? I'm going to untangle this a little bit for you. Maybe you know. Maybe you don't. I don't think most of you do. So this one question is the unseen cause. So what is this one question that you got to answer? What's this one unseen cause that's going to affect your career, going to affect your business, affect everything in your life? Here's the question, this one question that you must answer. And here it is. What is the primary cause of your results? What's the primary cause? And you can put my. What's the primary cause of my results? I encourage you to write that down, because that's probably the most important question you can answer in your career and your life. But the answer is not particularly complicated here. I'm just going to say it's simple. I'm not a complicated person. But this is really the unseen factor. So what is it? It's attitude. It's attitude. Now, let's unpack this a little bit. Let's look at this. So what is attitude? Well, see, your attitude, it controls most everything, and it springs from our style. If you were in Dave's last class here, he had different personality styles. So part of this is the way you're naturally wired, the way you were born. About 10% in this room are in the general population are what we call D's. You're results oriented. The other probably 25-30% are I's. You're outgoing, you love people, you like to have fun. The other 35% are very supportive. They care about people, they like relationships. And then there's another about 25 or 30%, they're all about quality answers, getting things right. Everybody's different. So you view the world from your viewpoint. I'm what we call a D. I'm all about results. My wife is an S. She's all about, is everybody happy? So to me, happy's optional. Results aren't. And to her, I just want everybody to be happy. I really don't care if we get results. That's her view. Two different views of the world. And it's very important that we understand that, because part of your attitude is based on your style, but it's not all based on your style. It's based on your environment. On your environment. Some folks grew up or are in right now, maybe you've created a negative environment. Dave was talking about in his talk about the dumpster talk. Everybody get out back of the business and they'd have their dumpster talk and they'd all talk negative about the business. That's part of the environment. But you create a lot of your environment. So, your attitude does spring from your environment. I want to give you a little more idea of what that environment means. But I do have to say this. When the first time I heard this and I heard attitude, I'm really underwhelmed by the answer. We've all heard that, haven't we? You're like, I paid to come in here for that, to hear that. Well, I'm going to give you a lot of examples around this. So what's attitude? Let me tell you, if you can't define it, how are you ever going to change it? If you can't define attitude, we've all been reminded of our attitude. Did your mom ever say, you need to improve your attitude? All right? If you had a better attitude, how about with salespeople? Would you say, if they had a better attitude, they'd do better in sales? Anybody? And this one, I'm sure you've all heard this. You'll never get any worse with that attitude. Right? So attitude does really impact. If your attitude towards the world is good, then you'll tend to attain good results. If your attitude's excellent, you're going to get excellent results. If it's so-so, you're going to get average results. So how do you know how your attitude is? Here's a simple little test, right quick. Just answer this question, yes or no. A simple yes or no. Do you feel the world is treating you well? Yes or no? Do you feel the world's treating you well? If you answer that real quick with a quick yes, congratulations, your attitude's good. If you kind of answer no, your attitude's bad. And if you kind of had trouble deciding, kind of so-so, you got a so-so attitude, you're going to get your attitude's average. Now, it can sound a little too simple, too easy, but let's think about this. Our environment is another way. The environment that we said, it's about your style, it's about your environment's just another way of saying how the world treats you. That's really, and it's a reflection of our attitude. The world treats us many times as a reflection of our attitude. It's responsible for how much of our potential we realize. So, contrary to popular belief, it's not about how much talent, how much ability that we have that counts. It's how much that we use. Now, I want to say again, it's not how much talent, how much ability we have, it's how much we use, and it's our attitude that throttles what you use. So I'll give you an example. I think everybody in here can read. How many of you read? How many other than just read street signs? Good. We've got people who held their sign, hand up, very good. But a lot of people can read, but they don't read. They don't read things that's going to help them grow. Folks, if you're wanting to grow your career, if you're starting out in a career, that's the best thing you can do. Keep learning, keep growing. So our ability, what you can do, may determine, your ability may determine what you can do, but it's our attitude that determines what we'll do. Well, this is going to hit home. This is going to get close for you here in a minute, because I want you to think, some of you that are business owners, you're thinking about some of your people in your business. Some of you that are parents, you're thinking about this for your kids. Some of you, they got a lousy attitude. Thinking about this for you. You know, attitude really does determine the quality of everything you get in your life, not just your career. So what is attitude? I'm going to give it to you real quick. It's your thoughts, it's your feelings, and it's your actions. And I'm going to give you the slide. So let's look at what this looks like. Don't this look smart? I've got a formula. So for all you C's in here, those people that like details and a formula, you've been waiting for this, haven't you? Okay, a formula. You're so great. You'd be really happy if I put up a graph or a chart, right? So, but this is it. So let's look at this. Your thoughts, your thinking leads to your feeling. Those two combined are your attitude. Let me tell you, I know this is stupid. I know people don't in here get upset, have bad feelings over little things, do you? I'm sure you don't. You're not like me, but the other day I walked in, my wife says, my hair dryer's not working. She said, I plug it in the plug, it won't work. So let me see that thing. I plug it in, it's in the bathroom, I plug it in. I can believe it. It worked. She looks at me like, I hate you. And I said, see, you just have, real smart aleck, you just have to plug it into the wall. You know? Then she says, unplug it. I unplug it. She said, plug it back in. I plug it back in. Guess what? It didn't work. And I said, well, that don't make no sense. Said it must be the plug. So I'm flexing on the plug and plug it back in. It don't work. I said, well, I know what the problem is. It's this plug. It's the wall plug. It's been there, a couple of years. It's probably wore out. You wore it out. You blow dry your hair so much you wore the plug out. I'll change the plug. I'm blaming her, right? Drive down to Home Depot, pick up another plug, put it in the wall, get it all wired up. Man, I don't know about you guys, but when I do something for that, like for my wife, I feel like new plug. I know for you guys that do, that's not a big deal, but for me, that's kind of a big deal. New wall plug. Plug the blow dryer in, it works. I'm like, okay, done. Next morning, my wife comes walking in to my office. She says, I really don't want to ruin your day, but that plug's not working. And I'm like, that can't be. So I walk in there, I plug in the blow dryer. It's working. I unplug it, plug it back in. Now, all you guys are electricians. You're wondering what's going on. I don't know. I haven't figured. I plug it back in. Can I tell you what? It ruined my day. I was so pouty, hacked off. I had a call with a client, and I'm like, that plug. I was so mad about that plug. And then my wife wearing those plugs out. Just those little things. And we all get this bad attitudes. That drove my feelings. Guess what? If you're not careful, it'll drive your actions. So your thinking, what you're thinking, drives your feelings. That's attitude. That drives your actions. Think about it. You got lousy thoughts. If you're thinking bad, you're going to feel bad. Are you going to be at the best of your game? Probably not. So I'm a certified coach. I do business coaching and work with folks. Here's the biggest challenge you got if you're running a business. When you're working with people, you start in the wrong spot. You start with actions. We give people, here's what you need to do. And then you can't figure out why people don't do what we want them to do. It's because we're starting at the wrong end. You got to start with thinking. Until you change their thinking, you're not going to change their doing. Just real simple. Because that's the way we're driven as individuals, as human beings. So thoughts create your feelings, that leads to our actions, that lead to our results. If you're not getting the results, don't start with action, start with thinking. That'll drive the feelings. That changes the attitude. So attitude does matter. Attitude affects your results. If you want to have great results in a career, you need to work on the front end of this model. So attitude is something, here's the great thing about it, man, you own it. You own it. It's what you own, it's what you can change. You Inc., you're the owner of this. I don't know where you're at, man, if what you're doing, if you're starting a career, or you're in business. But when it comes to you Incorporated, you own it. Nobody else owns it. There's no shareholders. You own the thing. You're the private equity. You own all the equity. You control it. And your attitude's something you can choose. It's called the principle of emotional responsibility. It's one of the first principles in changing our feelings about ourselves, but more importantly about others and the world. It starts with you. We're responsible for our feelings. It don't always feel like it, does it? But we are. A good attitude starts with personal responsibility. So if you're unhappy with any area of your life, the person that's responsible is always available to consult with. Just walk in there and look in the mirror. That's the person that's responsible. I know for some of y'all, they think that's kind of hard. You know, Dave mentioned part of the John Maxwell team, one of the founding partners there, and the guy that's president of it, Paul Martinelli. I love what he says. He says, a lot of times we play the who's the matter with me game. Who's the matter with me? Oh, I'd do better if it wasn't for all them. You know, Wayne Dyer says, he's an author, and I want to read this to you. He says, if you think people are your problem, you're going to have to send the whole world to psychiatrists for you to get better. And that's going to be really hard. So we own it. We do take, it's not what you know, it's what you do with what you know that counts. It's the action that you take. And I hope you guys don't mind me regressing just a minute. I'm going to share with you a little personal story. And hopefully I don't do like I do sometimes and maybe get a little soft on the edges here. I'll give you an example of great attitude. Great attitude. I have twin granddaughters, and they have a condition called Rett syndrome. They're 5 years old now. They were born perfect, declared perfect for the doctors. And then about at the year of 2 years old, they started to lose their ability to walk, talk, or use their hands. So we went on this journey. What's going on? What's going on? Fortunately, we live in the Houston area, so we ended up at the Houston Medical Center, found a specialist, the only specialist in the world that could tell us what was going on. He says they have Rett syndrome. And he says, it's a rare disease, but it's really not a rare disease. 300,000 we know have it. Girls, little boys die. And he said there's probably 3 or 4 times that have it, and they're just making diagnosed because the doctors don't know what it is. Well, long story short, the 2 twins have it. One of them, she has lost her ability to talk, but she can still walk. She can still use her hands. But Kenzie, one of the twins, has totally lost her ability to walk, talk, use her hands, and she's struggling now to eat. And, you know, it's interesting. I go home, I'm with her, and you're thinking, man, if I had that condition, I would be one mean person. I'm going to tell you, you wouldn't like being around me. Because of her condition, her nasal passages are stopped up 24/7. She has to breathe through her mouth. Sometimes she can't breathe. Sometimes she passes out because she can't breathe, and you have to revive her. But I'll tell you, she can't control all the physical stuff. But here's what I see. She can control her attitude. And you can't met her, but you'd never see a better attitude. You walk in, you'd never know she had a condition, not from her attitude. She doesn't whine. She doesn't complain. When she goes to school, everybody knows her there. The nurse knows her real well. She's in the nurse's office 2 or 3 times a day, and they're just wonderful. Your attitude, you own it, no matter how bad the world may seem around you. I don't think, so that's one thing that, when I look at little Kinsey, I think, man, my day ain't going good. It's just a matter of what you compare it to. What's your point of comparison? We whine over little stuff, folks. We whine over the little plug in the wall that don't work. We own our attitude. We own our environment. So, I spent a lot of my years leading sales teams. I was fortunate to work for Lennox for 40 years. I was in the director role there. It was just awesome. Had time to work the eastern half of the U.S., western half, western half, all halves. I had a lot of salespeople. Here's what I learned. I want to share this with you of hiring salespeople and employees in general. HR is not in here. The lady is in here, Laura. She's my best friend. She was the HR person all those years. Oh, my gosh. She was telling before she walked out, we could tell some stories. And I just said, thank you so much, Laura, for putting up with me. But here's what I did find after all that time. Hire for attitude, train for skills. I want you to write, if you're a business owner, write this down. If you're hiring people, write this down. Hire for attitude, train for skills. You'll save yourself a lot of time. Dave mentioned I hired him. I did. I hired him for one thing. Dave don't know this, never looked at his resume. Didn't care because I hired him for his attitude. I don't think you'll find anybody that's got a better attitude, will you, folks? Dave don't know that. I could have cared less if he graduated cum laude from whatever university or whatever those things are. Now, Dave's a smart guy. He's a smart guy. But I hired for attitude. So, I'll take someone over that maybe can't do it right now, but will do it anytime over somebody that can do it but won't do it. Amen? Y'all got that? So always hire for attitude, because I want to tell you, those that can do it and won't do it, they're really hard to get to do it. That's the biggest challenge you'll run across. Credentials are good, but they only tell part of the story. The worst hires I made had awesome credentials. But they had a lousy attitude. They didn't want to do what it took to make things happen. Okay. So functional skills, credentials, they can be attained. Look, if you're going to school, I'm glad for it, man. If you got a doctor's degree, I'm all for you. But attitude's a lot different. It can be acquired, but it's up to you. So some people would come out. I know I'd hire some interview folks, and they'd think, well, because you could almost sense it when they walked in with their nose in the air. And I'm not trying to be critical, but you kind of owe me this much money, or I kind of deserve the job because of my credentials. Even beyond that, sometimes they might have been a little too good to do the basic work. Here's what I found. I've seen 2 salespeople working in the same market, selling the same product. Very, kind of working in, selling the same product in very similar markets. Guess what? Same skill set, same job. One earning a ton more money than the other. So, folks, if you're working on your career, here's the simple. If you want to make a lot of money, this is your key. And guess what? One could make a lot more than the other. Same markets, similar markets, same product, same company. And guess what? When it came time to cut back, if we had to cut back, if we had to let one go, which one did we let go? The one that was costing us a lot of money because they were selling a lot, or the one that, no, we always let the one go that wasn't performing. Always kept the one that cost us maybe double because of the attitude. Attitude's hard to hire for. Attitude matters because results matter. You saw the map. Attitude. So if you want to get better at results, you got to get a better attitude. If you're not getting the results you want right now, get a better attitude. Sales guys in the room, not getting the results, get a better attitude. Attitude's the one thing that comes very close to being everything about what we achieve in life. All right, let's move on. All right, attitude reflects who you are. It's a reflection of who we are. A person with the attitude that they can't do something, guess what? They seldom do it. If they have the attitude, hey, I can't do it, they seldom do it. A person that believes they can, I know that's not good grammar, they does do. They does do. Right? They make it happen. They get out there. Everything can be taken. This is a quote, Viktor Frankl, if you're not familiar, he was in the Nazi concentration camps. And here's what he wrote about that experience. He survived it. A lot of people didn't. But he says, everything can be taken but a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given circumstances. So think about it for a moment. Think about this. Would you rather work with someone with a good attitude or someone with a bad attitude? You got a choice here. That's not a hard question. I think everybody says, I'd rather work with somebody with a good attitude. Would you rather hire someone with a great attitude or bad attitude? I think, well, I'll take somebody with, I just want a company full of bad attitude people. That's what I want. No, none of us strive that. But do you hire some that have bad attitude? Let me ask you, worse than that, owners, do you tolerate people that have a bad attitude in your company? I know we're talking career enhancement, but I want to talk business enhancement. You're not going to grow your company if you've got a company full of people with bad attitudes. I just want to get real serious with you. When I do consulting with companies, we always talk about this, well, you don't understand. You don't understand. You got to do something that'll drag your business down. So will you be a little more prepared, maybe a little bit more patient to develop someone? They don't have the skills, but they have the attitude. They will do it. So I think we can all we say, well, now that I think about it, attitude does make a big difference, don't it? Everyone prefers to be around people that give us life, not take the breath out of the room. Do you know anybody, when they come in the room, they just like suck the air out of the room? Yeah, I mean, it's just like, oh my gosh, not them again. They don't bring life to the room. They suck life out of the room. Everybody starts out wanting to be successful, don't they? Everybody starts out wanting to have a successful career. Let me give you 6 ways to wreck your career or wreck your business, whichever applies to you. Let's look at these. 6 ways to fail. Isn't that great? You come to a motivational speech and say, okay, here's what I'm doing. I want to share with you 6 ways to fail. Okay, here they are. 6 ways to fail. Here's the plans. Number 1, have a big chair, little man plan. Have an underachievement plan. Have an okay with okay plan. Have a failure plan. Have a set on your butt plan. And have a mutt plan. So let's talk about those. All right. A big chair, little man plan. This is not hard. What career do you envision? What career do you envision if you're working on your career? What business do you envision? How big? What chair do you want to sit in? Look, if you're looking to grow your career, what chair do you want to sit in with your business? How many millions? How big do you want? Take a minute. Think about that. How big? What chair? So you rarely sit in a chair and get there by surprise. It happens some. I shared in the sales meeting. I started out with a dealer, set him up when he had 1 truck. That's right. For all y'all, don't get mad. I was a Lennox TM for 13 years, and I set up guys that had 1 truck. Guess what? I didn't set up 1 truck guys. I set up guys that were going to be guys that had 30 and 40 trucks. That's who I set up. I set up people with potential. And by the way, if you're a founder, you probably started 1 truck, didn't you? My biggest dealers started, one thing, they started one truck, baby. It's not about they got one truck. It's about where are they going with that one truck. What do you see? And we sat and we talked about, and I remember telling the group here, I said, whenever he sold his business for millions of dollars, hey, man, did you ever think it would be this size? You know, he had a very, very large business. He said, yes, I did. I envisioned it from day one. I envisioned it from day one. So if you want to have a big chair, you got to have a great vision for where you want to go. For me, this may sound shallow to some of y'all. Hey, I worked on a ranch. I mean, that's what I did. When I walked out of the ranch, I want to tell you, I had a big chair vision. I'll share what it was to have the corner office in a large corporation. I had never been in an office in a large corporation. And I'd seen a corner office on television. But I thought, that's what I want. Everybody told me, you're nuts. Nobody's going to hire you. Had a big chair plan, man. Guess what? I sat for years in a corner office. Right at Lennox. It's a nice office, too. Got a little hot sometimes. We needed to work on the thermostat some. But other than that, it was a nice place. Where do you want to take your company? Where do you want to be? Think about it, dream about it, and then don't. The other way not to get there is just don't develop yourself with a big chair. Don't develop your company. Don't develop yourself. Just get there and say, oh, I'm going to grow when I get there. Well, I feel sorry for all the people that work for you that while you're learning to do what you need to do. That's hard. Anybody ever worked for a boss? They were learning on the job? Or you had to train a boss? Oh, that's painful, huh? So for you, going up in your career, I've got a challenge. You do one thing, whatever chair you want to sit in, grow to that right now. Start learning. Be there. Be ready. Be ready for that chair when your opportunity comes to sit in it. All right, here's the next plan. If you want to fail, plan to underachieve. Plan to do what we think we can do. That's what we do. I think I can do this, so that's what we plan on. It's based on our current situation, our current skills. It's about being reasonable, shared with the team in the sales skill. You know, if you want to fail, be reasonable. Be reasonable. If you want to grow in business, if you want to grow your career, be unreasonable. We just got a lot of people that are just too many people that are just reasonable. You know, we base it on what we can do. Based on data, market conditions, economy, who's in the office, you know, this type of thing. But this is really thinking in reverse. Because if you base it on last year's plan, I sat with business, I have an opportunity to consult with them. I look at it, so what did you base this year's plan on? They said, well, kind of what we finished last year. I'm like, why do you do that? If you goofed up last year, you're only as good as you. I mean, this ain't stretching you. It's not stretching you. It's based on what's the potential. Then we do it based on what we know how to do. Now I'm going to give you something that I think is going to kind of rock your world here a little bit. Suspend the requirement to know how. Suspend the requirement to know how. I was fortunate in my career at Lennox. I had a couple of roles to do to kind of be a part of in the company. We'd never done it before. We'd never done it. So there's no data exists where you ain't done it before. So you just have to suspend the requirement of knowing how. Think about this. The Wright brothers. Did they have a pilot's license, by the way? No, they didn't know how to fly an airplane. Those goofy guys, they just built an airplane and flew the airplane. How about, I was telling the sales guy, I live in a neighborhood full of a lot of NASA people. One of my neighbors, he's a rocket scientist. I'm a sales guy, you know, kind of you, me type thing, you know. So think about this. There's a robot on Mars driving around right now. They didn't know how to put a robot on Mars. But there's a robot on Mars. Whatever you're trying to do in your business, whatever you're trying to do in your career, folks, let me tell you, it's not as hard as putting a robot on Mars. So suspend the requirement of knowing how to do it and get started. And then finally, we kind of work on what we are worthy to do. That's the wrong question. We might say things like, well, you don't understand, I'm just, if you can fill in the blank. We might have said that. Or you don't understand, I come from, or I didn't do this, or I'm not, Stop making excuses for not being worthy of the goal. The real question you got to ask is the goal worthy of me? So, here's the plans. Okay with okay plan. To be okay with average. You know what average is? Everybody will give you a definition. It's the bottom of the top or the top of the bottom. That's what average is. It's not an awesome thing. Settle for mediocrity. That's just kind of setting the bar low enough where we can win. If you want to fail, shoot for comfort. Shoot for comfort. There's a little boy, I have to tell you this. John Maxwell tells this story. He said, a little boy was overhead praying, Lord, if you can't make me better, don't worry about it. I'm having a real good time like I am. I love that. That's where a lot of us at. We're like, hey, if I can't go, it's okay. I'm good with mediocre. I'm good with doing things the way they are. Goals. Goals don't represent our potential. So you gotta, goals are just on the way to your potential. And then finally, security. We base it on playing safe. We start basing it on playing not to lose. Business owners, I want to challenge you. One of the biggest challenges you'll have as a business owner is you'll get from the place to playing to win to playing not to lose. But I got bad news for you. There's other people coming in the market that are playing to win, and they're going to win by taking your business. There's other people coming after your career, folks, that you're looking to build a career. That's the bias they're coming from. So create a failure plan. You can create a failure plan if you want to fail. Think more work instead of what works. Think more work, because here's the challenge with more work. You just run out of more. Anybody in here burned out? Anybody out here burned out? You just run out of more. You don't get more. More's not the answer. Think how can I instead of I can. Next, keep doing what you've done instead of doing something you've not done. And then fourth, keep doing just enough to get by, just enough to make it, not more than enough. And now here's my favorite one. Have a setting on your butt plan. It's just like, ooh, I love my big old butt here. There's this big butt I got. That's where we want to set. But I don't know how to grow. I work with customers that say, I don't know how to grow. But, and you say, well, what do we do? But you don't know. They just like a big butt. They just cling to it. They have a setting on their butt plan. Folks, you want to grow your career? Don't sit on your butt. People aren't looking for people that sit on their butt. But I don't know where to grow. But I don't have the time to grow. But I don't have the money to grow. But I don't like to read. But it'll take too long. So you got to be very careful. Here's what I want you to do. If you're going to be successful in your career, you're going to be in business, you got to start looking at your butts, and you got to start looking at your horizon. You got to really stretch it out. You got to be buttless. That's it. You got to be buttless. I'm getting there, by the way. You got to be buttless and be growing. All right. I want to close this little story. This is the mutt plan. If you want to fail, have a mutt plan. If you want to fail, have a mutt plan. So a few years ago, I got my first pedigree dog. You wouldn't want to see all the dogs I had before that. Growing up on a ranch, they weren't pretty, none of them. But my wife, she decided, we moved to Dallas. I was at the corporate office. She thought I needed to upgrade my dog. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to the poodle area or none of that, but So we got a golden lab, a lab, a yellow lab. She's golden. So, when you register them, anybody have a registered dog? Yeah. I had registered cattle before. I'd registered cattle, and you have to give them a name, and I had registered dogs. So me and my wife were sailors. We like to go sailing. We like to fly down to the Caribbean, get a boat, and go sailing. So I said, Sailor, that'll be her name. Someday she'll go sailing with us. So, and then she's golden. So the dog's name, official name is Kay's Golden Sailor. Isn't that a nice name for a registered dog? Well, I'm going to tell you, this dog, my wife took it. She wanted to be a good dog mama. So she started, this dog had everything. That's her right there when she was a puppy. She ate only store-bought food, only store-bought food, only special. I'd give her, food, table scrap. My wife, don't you do that. Why not? Well, she can't eat that. I'm like, why not? I'm eating it. She can't, I had the worst. I'd feed that dog. I'd buy the cheapest weenies at the grocery store, 50 cents a pack. That's what I'd feed. My wife get on to me. Don't feed that dog. That dog loved them. Well, I kept feeding the dog weenies. Guess what happened? She got diabetes. My pedigree has diabetes. Now I have to buy insulin for my pedigree, and I have to give her a shot twice a day. And when she's acting up, I say, if you don't stop, I'm not giving you a shot. You might last another day. Dog, she got it made. She can do tricks. She gets little doggy treats. She sleeps inside. I never had a dog sleep in the house. Where I grew up, dogs they didn't set foot in the house. I had a beagle one time. He got confused and run in the house. And then he got scared. And he got scared we was going to whip him. So he run out the screen door and run into the screen door on his way out. She has it made. She don't sleep outside. Let me tell you about my Rocket. My dog, Rocket, was the one I had when me and my wife first got married. Now, Rocket, if it was a pedigree mutt, would have been a pedigree mutt. If there was a pedigree, that was the ugliest dog. That's not the real Rocket, by the way. I never took a picture. I just kind of grabbed that one of an ugly dog. But Rocket, he didn't eat store-bought food. Matter of fact, he would have chewed your arm off if you tried to give him store-bought food. He liked table scraps. And not clean table scraps. He liked scraps that you had kind of had on your plate. He liked to eat the real stuff. And he ate frogs, you name it. He loved to, I'm sorry if this offends anybody, it's animal love. He loved to go kill stuff. He loved rabbits. We had lots of them. He loved anything he could. He just wasn't a pedigree. Matter of fact, so I would feed Rocket. He couldn't do it. I'd feed him everything. So I got in the habit of feeding him chicken bones. Now, everybody, might be saying, oh, my God, you can't feed a dog chicken bones. I didn't know that. Rocket didn't know that. So we had chicken in Texas a lot, like every meal, fried chicken. So I'd feed him chicken bones. I'd throw them in there. He'd catch them. One day, I threw this chicken bone. It was a leg bone. And Rocket reaches up. He grabs that bone in midair, and it lodges in his throat. He's down on his knees. He's choking. He's gagging. I'm looking at him like, dude, this is it. And he finally his eyes meet mine. And I'm like, what do I do? The dog Heimlich maneuver? What do I do here? So I said, there's one thing I got to reach. I could see the bone, so I reached in, grabbed that bone out of his mouth. He fell back on his back, got a big breath, and guess what he did? He flew up from the ground and bit that bone right out of my hand, almost took my hand off to get the very thing that almost killed him. So here's what I want to leave you with, folks. You choose those bones you want to get back up and grab. Whatever's choking you in your business, your career, your life, that attitude, whatever it is, you decide if you're going to get back up and just grab that thing you're choking. You choose a bad attitude. You can choose to have a pedigree attitude. You can choose to not have enough time or money, or you can choose to have a lot. You can choose to have a little chair career, a little chair business, or a big chair. You can choose to do what you want to do. not what you can do. You can choose to be average. You can choose to be mediocre. You can choose just to have a big butt career or a big butt business. You can choose to be buttless. You can choose to be a mutt. You can choose to be a pedigree. Now that you know the question, this one answer, you got a question. Now here's what I want to do. I want to challenge you to go build a big career, a big business around you Inc., you Incorporated, with a great attitude. Thank y'all very much. Good to have you here. Thank you for being at Lennox Vision this year. Very good to have you.